Welcome! Today, we're going to talk about a huge shift that's rewriting the rules for Nepali industry. For decades, the nation's entire economic game plan was built on one big assumption, that there would always be a large, available, and cheap pool of labor. Well, that assumption is now officially broken. And what comes next is a choice between smart adaptation and, frankly, slow extinction.
Okay, let's really dig into this quote because this one idea flips the entire automation debate on its head. This isn't about replacing cheap workers with expensive robots to save a little on salaries. No, it's about achieving a level of quality and reliability that is, basically impossible for humans to do consistently. And we're going to explore why that is now the only real path to survival.
For decades, Nepal's industrial strategy was pretty simple. Use a big, low-cost workforce. This was the bedrock for everything, from textiles to consumer goods. But that bedrock has completely crumbled. And it's not because of some policy failure, it's because of a massive economic signal that we just can't ignore anymore. And you can see the proof on factory floors all across the country. If you walk through a factory in the Kathmandu Valley right now, the thing that hits you is the sound, or the lack of it, the silence from all the empty workstations. The pull of higher wages abroad has created this huge labor exodus. And look, this isn't just a social problem we should feel bad about. It's a clear market signal that demands a response. That labor pool, it isn't getting any bigger or cheaper. We've all heard the story, right? That Nepal's big advantage is competing on labor cost. But here's the thing. That was always a national miscalculation. It was a game we were never really set up to win, especially when you look at the sheer scale of our neighbors. I mean, the contrast is just stark. Look at Bangladesh. They built a $40 billion garment industry, not just on low wages, but on absolutely massive, stable scale. Nepal never had that. Our so-called labor advantage was kind of an illusion. And now, that illusion has completely vanished. And this really gets to the core of the problem. The government's minimum wage, that's just one small piece of the puzzle. The real cost, the effective labor cost, includes all the money spent constantly recruiting and retraining people in this crazy high turnover environment. That's the number that businesses actually feel on their balance sheets, and believe me, it's a lot higher than the official figures. Just think about that number for a second. A turnover rate of up to 40% every single year. When an experienced machine operator leaves for Qatar, they don't just leave a job opening. They take years of know-how, of institutional knowledge, right out the door with them. And the cost to replace that knowledge, not just the person, is huge. This traps Nepali factories in the worst possible spot. More expensive than Bangladesh, but without the consistent quality of China.
So this brings us right back to that central idea we started with. We have to completely reframe how we talk about automation. It's not a simple robot wage versus human wage calculation. Its real value, its true return on investment, is hiding somewhere else entirely. The money you save on wages, that's a tiny sliver of the pie. The real prize, the massive ROI, comes from achieving perfect quality every single time. It comes from eliminating errors and unlocking access to those premium global markets that demand absolute, unwavering consistency, something that human hands, no matter how skilled they are, just can't guarantee at a large scale.
Let's make this really concrete. Imagine you're a pashmina exporter. A buyer in Europe rejects an entire container of your shawls because of tiny inconsistencies in the dyeing or a few weaving flaws. These aren't huge mistakes. They're just the natural result of human variation. But an automated system, it ensures perfect color matching and flawless weaving on the first shawl and on the 10,000th. The ROI isn't about saving one salary, it's about saving the entire business from a $50,000 loss. And this isn't just for luxury exports. The same logic applies to the things we buy every day. In packaging, for example, automation isn't just about going faster. It's about making a promise to the consumer, a promise of safety and quality. Automated systems make sure every single packet is filled perfectly, sealed flawlessly, and inspected thoroughly. And that builds consumer trust, which is the single most valuable asset for any brand trying to compete with imports.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What about the jobs? Doesn't this just mean mass unemployment? Well, history shows us over and over that technology doesn't just destroy jobs, it transforms them. It replaces the low-skill, repetitive stuff with higher-skill, system management roles. The challenge isn't to stop this change, because you can't. The challenge is to manage it.
Think of it this way. The worker who's manually packing boxes today could be the line supervisor of tomorrow, monitoring a dashboard that controls 5 automated packing machines. The person who used to visually inspect products could be retrained to calibrate sophisticated computer vision systems. And these are, without a doubt, higher paying and higher skilled jobs.
So, how do we make that happen? Policy has to get smarter. Instead of propping up dying industries, imagine a national automation skill fund that helps companies pay for the upskilling of their current employees. And the goal here is absolutely critical. We need to shift our focus from protecting yesterday's jobs to protecting our citizens' employability for tomorrow's economy.
And that brings us to the final, unavoidable choice. Right now, Nepal's manufacturing sector is standing at a crossroads. The decisions being made today in boardrooms and in government ministries will decide which path the entire nation goes down.
The two paths really couldn't be clearer. On one hand, there's the path of inertia. We just keep doing what we're doing and watch as our industrial base slowly erodes, leaving us more and more dependent on remittances and imports. But then there's the other path, the path of strategic adaptation. It's harder, for sure, but it leads to a future where meat in Nepal is a stamp of reliability, a future where we capture premium markets and create a whole new generation of high-skilled jobs.
Ultimately, this is what it all boils down to. The romantic idea of trying to preserve a low-wage industrial model from the 1990s, it's a dangerous fantasy. Real leadership means abandoning that fantasy and making the hard, strategic choice. Because the choice for Nepal is no longer between automation and jobs. It is, and for a while now has been, a choice between automation and irrelevance.